All in all, in retrospect, I feel more still after everything that's happened, which is a nicer feeling, and I feel free. Somewhat, some kind of a burden had accumulated over the years. Now, when you see that burden drop, shoulders feel a little relaxed.
Life goes on like this. And there will come a stage where you are neutral to whether you are passing through good phase or bad phase. Chalo. And that is the phase of, in astrology, Shani period.
Like a Shani Mahadasha.
Shani Mahadasha, Antarja Mahadasha, Sade Sati, anything you call. Well, the planets are outside and their expressions are inside of you. So if you look at the movement of the planetary positions in anybody's life, which is called Kundali or horoscope, it's all about the phases of karmas that it speaks about.
So the Saturn element in someone's chart eventually teaches them to be neutral about life.
Because Saturn would bring reward and punishment in such frequently in that 7.5 years, whatever that period everybody goes through, that initially you feel suffocated. You want to resist these things. Oh, I don't want unhappiness. I always want happiness. That's what everybody's definition of life is. Then he starts teaching you, no, you have to taste this also if you want the other one. Because they are the two faces of the same coin, sorrow and joy. Then once you start tasting it, and then aadat pad jata hai.
It's fair to say that this happens in everyone's life, right?
It happens in everybody's life.
Right? If you're in a human body, you have to go through.
Greatest of the greatest Mahatmas. Nobody is spared. Only when you have the Guru proper guidance, then thoda आसान हो जाता है.
I have a friend of mine. She's from a very affluent family, and because of the show, I've learned a tiny amount of astrology. So I was trying to just see her chart, and we're good friends, so she was okay with it. And there was clearly some tiny problem, something in marriage, something in like health. And when I told her all the good stuff, it didn't matter to her at all. But she sat on the bad stuff. And anyone looking at her life from the outside would think she has a perfect life. But in her eyes, she's got a not so perfect life. And so many people around me, spend so much of their time, energy, effort trying to accumulate wealth, thinking that when I have all that wealth, it's going to be the perfect life. And then you become that wealthy and maybe you lose all your health. And then you realize
This
that
is the story of every individual.
yeah.
Then tell me, what is perfection? Can you define what is perfection of life?
I'm saying it based on what I have learned in this last year. I think perfection is to just stay still as life happens around you.
Is it so easy to stay still? Especially to a Gemini like you.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, if I don't spend my mornings in prayer, or if I don't begin my day somewhat with a prayer element, then I lose my stillness. But as long as it begins with prayer, I find that I'm softer towards the world and myself.
That's a good beginning. Then your whole day should be a prayer. There is nothing a slot like where you sit for prayer and then you are fine about it.
Yeah.
Then it gets extended. And then you don't see a slot where you have to sit for prayers. Then your whole personality, your actions being performed, you stay in that state.
Yeah.
That is the evolution everybody goes through. But yeah, unless we are focused about it, the danger of this mind is it gets accustomed to doing prayer as a checklist.
Mm.
Prayer kar liya, theek hai, I am fine for the day. But that's not the truth. It is just following the discipline. Everything that you do around you, you have to check again and again. Are you able to carry that prayerful mood, prayerful mind? Then the real sadhana begins.
When it becomes a part of your breath.
For that, what level of awareness one should develop?
I think we've already covered 95% of it. the 5% that's remaining in our conversation is probably the most important aspect of going through a bad phase, which is that when you're at rock bottom, how do you handle yourself? Um, I'm I'm going to begin by just giving some practical input of things that help me. First of all, the 3-4 people around you matter a lot. I think they need to be very positive and ideally spiritual to guide you through it. Second, there has to be some kind of element of prayer or surrender to the divine. Uh, Now, third, I'll hand it over to you again.
Coming back to the first one, then the second one you mentioned. Your closest people have to be very positive. My question is, they are your closest people because of the past life connections that you made with these relationships, these jivas only, these souls. They have come back to you and joined you in a different phase of life. So, your bad phase of karma has to fight with in a good way or in a bad way, connected to those people also. But it need not be always positive. Most probably it will not be positive. That's why it's called bad phase, that you have to fight it alone.
Any tools to fight it alone?
The easiest, but again, the toughest is surrender.
Flow with it.
It's like a big wave is coming. If you try to jump over the wave, it's not possible. What you do? Just bend. Let the storm pass by. So, some great soul has said, this whole life is a training, a learning how to die. It's not about how to live.
That's beautiful.
That means how to die. How do you learn that? Yoga says, Yoga karmasu kaushalam. Yoga is skillful action in life, of life,
Yoga is skillful action of life. Wow.
and in life, both. Why? A yogi knows the map of karma. It never comes to him by surprise. It doesn't give him surprises.
Wow.
And there are karmas. Karmas are three in category. One which have already happened, one are happening in this phase, and which is going to happen in the future. Sanchita and Agami. Both bother you. But a yogi is aware of all the three. So what he does is, the only solution for this is, to handle these karmas is, karmasu kaushalam. Means you perform your actions in such an efficient way, kaushalya, skillful way, that it doesn't affect you, it doesn't touch you. Means whole life is a learning to perform action which is not going to touch me. So when it doesn't touch, you're free. When it doesn't touch, there is no reason why you have to come back. Come back to life again.
Which is the goal. That's
Yes.
the actual goal.
Actual goal, the real purpose of your life.
Yeah. There's a beautiful word I learned through the show. It's called providence. It means the helpful nature of God throughout life. You know, and
It's a word often used in Bible.
yeah. I think it's also called favor. Same thing. Same. When you say, okay, God brings me favor. You know, I remember in the last 10 years, things were always going upward. But of course, I wanted it to go upward faster. And that's where I would look for providence to help me. Like, come on, God, help me out, you know? And He would still come and help. But the real skill of providence is to find it in difficult phases. Shouldn't forget that providence is there for you even in the worst phase.
See, I will tell you these good phases and bad phases. Again, it is connected to the karma.
Yeah.
It's like you perform a good action, it's like a deposit. So you have a deposit of money, say about 10,000 rupees. I always give this example. And you feel that it should be deposited, not spend karne ki nahi hai. So you go and deposit in the bank. And in those days, FD means they would give a certificate. You can keep that certificate with you. Most of the time, what happens is we keep the certificate and we don't know where it has gone. Well, 10 years, tenure, aisa kuch. 10 years में इतना कुछ हो जाता है life में, you don't even know where you have kept that certificate. So all our actions are like that we perform and we forget about it. But the banker does not forget it. When it matures, 10 years, he will call you. Madam, your FD is matured, you have to come and take it. We cannot say that I am not interested in that matured FD, either good or bad. Then I am not able to come, I cannot come and take it. Then he'll say, no, you cannot do that. You have to come and take it because in bank we don't have any place to handle it. Right? That's how it is. When you deposit good actions and when it matures, whatever you touch, it becomes gold. That you call good face. That is actually the definition, the unseen, invisible power of that. Anything you touch, then you start feeling, I have not put much efforts. Even if I put efforts also, the desired result doesn't come, right? Many times. That means you are going through a bad phase of your life because your bad actions have started giving fruits of life. But there are certain phases where you find that for the amount of efforts you have put, the results are much more magnanimous. You can see that. That's why it's called in Sanskrita Adrishta, fortune, luck. Adrishta. Drishta, that is visible. Adrishta, that is invisible. So certain actions we are not able to understand why and how of it because it is adrishta, unseen. Unseen means it's directly connected to our past actions of this life, maybe past lives. Some give immediate fruits, actions performed, and immediately you get the result. But there are certain karmas which take a very long time to get nourished, strengthen, and then sprout, and then start giving the cause, effect of that cause.
Which is why live life with skill. I'm going to end this particular episode with a quote by Bruce Lee. And it's not a quote that fully fits this episode, but it will protect you from the tough phases. Because this is the quote that protected me. Bruce Lee said that when you're praying to God, ask not for an easy life, but for the strength to endure a difficult one. I think the nature of life is not easy. And no one tells you that in school or college. Everyone just preps you for a family life and for career success. No one tells you that life is going to be difficult. You're going to lose your parents, loved ones. You're going to be alone.
People don't know.
Hey, if you enjoyed this clip from the Ranveer Show, we've uploaded a ton of other clips related to a ton of other topics. So explore the channel because there's something for everyone.